You did what? High Commander Zextal's crystalline appendages trembled in what could only be described as pure, unadulterated horror. We captured some human offspring, Lieutenant Krivek reported proudly, his bioluminescent spots pulsing with achievement. 3 of them. They were wandering around their learning facility after hours. Perfect opportunity for hostages. The High Commander's translucent body shifted through several shades of panic before settling on a sickly green. Lieutenant, how long have you been stationed in the Terran sector? 3 solar cycles, sir, and this is my first successful. And in those 3 cycles, Zextal interrupted, voice dripping with what humans would call, done with this shit energy. Did you ever bother to read the briefing on human parental instincts? Karavek's spots dimmed slightly. Well, I skimmed it, sir. Something about protective behaviors and... Skimmed it! The commander's crystalline form practically vibrated. Do you know what happened to the Verkathi fleet when they accidentally destroyed a human school bus? A bus, Lieutenant. No casualties, just property damage. I don't recall that incident, sir. Because there isn't enough left of them to make an incident report. As if on cue, the station's proximity alarms began blaring. Karavek waddled to the view screen, his spots now cycling through confused patterns. Sir, there appear to be 37 human vessels approaching. 23 military, 4 civilian, and... is that a minivan? A mini... Oh, sweet crystalline heavens. Zextal collapsed into his gelatinous command chair. That's probably Sharon from the PTA. She brings orange slices to soccer practice and can bench press a small shuttle. But sir, we have superior technology. Our shields... Lieutenant, let me explain something about humans and their offspring. Zextal's voice took on the tone of someone explaining why touching plasma coils was a bad idea. Humans are already terrifying. They drink literal poison for enjoyment. They run until their bodies fail for fun. They watch horror entertainment before sleeping. Karavek's spots had faded to a dull gray. Yes, but nothing. Now take those base parameters and multiply them by mama bear syndrome. Do you know what a bear is, Lieutenant? A large omnivorous earth mammal That's the least terrifying thing about this situation. Zextal was now cycling through colors faster than a malfunctioning disco ball. Sharon once organized a bake sale that raised enough money to build a new gymnasium in 3 days. Imagine what she'll do to us with actual motivation. The station shuddered as the first waves of human ships entered weapons range. The comm system crackled to life, and a choir of voices spoke in terrifying harmony. This is the combined forces of really angry parents, the United States Space Force, and the Thursday Night Book Club Wine Appreciation Society. Release the children and surrender, or we will introduce you to why humans invented the phrase, "Hell hath no fury." Krevek's spots had gone completely dark. Sir, I think I should have read that briefing. You think? Zextal oozed out of his chair and headed for the containment area. Quick, release the children, and someone get me the recipe for Sharon's apple pie. It's the only thing that might save us now. The what, sir? Just get the children, and maybe start writing your will, though I doubt there'll be enough of us left to read it. As they rushed through the corridors, another transmission came through. This is Sharon. You made Tommy miss his piano lesson. I've brought cookie dough, and I'm not afraid to bake it into weapons of mass destruction. Zextal turned to his lieutenant, crystal fragments practically shedding in terror. Remember how humans say, "Hell hath no fury," like a woman scorned? That's nothing compared to a suburban mom with a cause and a KitchenAid mixer. The station shuddered again. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear the distinct sound of a minivan's sliding door opening. Why is that sound scarier than our plasma cannons? Krivek whispered. Because, Lieutenant, Zextal replied grimly. That's the sound of a mom who's already texted the other moms. And if there's one thing more terrifying than human parents protecting their young, it's human parents who have organized a group chat. They finally reached the containment cells, only to find them empty? Sir. Krivek's spots were now pulsing in panic mode. Where are the human offspring? A small giggle echoed from somewhere in the ventilation system. Oh no. Zextal's crystalline structure nearly shattered from sheer dread. You didn't even read the section about human children's natural escapist tendencies, did you? Another giggle, this time from behind them. Then another from above. Did you know? Zextal continued, his voice reaching new octaves of hysteria. That human children are essentially tiny ninjas? They can fit through spaces 1/3 their size, climb virtually any surface, and have an innate ability to cause chaos that rivals our most advanced entropy weapons. A paper airplane made from what appeared to be a highly classified security document floated down from the ceiling. "But we child-proofed the cells," Krivek protested. "Lieutenant, humans have a saying. Child-proof just means it'll take them longer to break it. Now they're loose in our ventilation system, probably reprogramming our defense grid with the power of curiosity and sticky fingers." As if to prove his point, the station's lights began flickering in a pattern that suspiciously resembled Baby Shark. The comm system crackled again. "This is Sharon. We're detecting that the children have already escaped their containment and are currently redecorating your command systems. Tommy, honey, remember to wash your hands after touching alien technology." "Thank you, Mrs. Peterson," chirped a voice from somewhere in the walls. Zextal slumped against the corridor wall. "Lieutenant, do you know what's worse than facing an armada of angry human parents?" "What, sir?" "Facing an armada of angry human parents while their children are actively proving that we can't even properly contain them for 5 minutes. We're not just incompetent kidnappers, we're embarrassingly incompetent kidnappers." The station's artificial gravity suddenly reversed, then started cycling through what felt like a bouncy castle simulator. "I believe young Jessica found the environmental controls," Zextal sighed. "She always was good with computers, according to her mother's Facebook posts." "Sir, what's a Facebook?" "Another human weapon of mass destruction, Lieutenant. Another weapon of mass destruction." The station's speaker system suddenly crackled to life, but instead of more threats from the approaching parents, what emerged was the theme song from Paw Patrol, at approximately 120 decibels. "Make it stop!" Krivek's spots were now strobing in patterns that would probably trigger an epilepsy warning on Earth. "That would be little Timmy," Zekistal shouted over the cartoon theme song. "He's obsessed with anything with buttons, which, unfortunately, describes about 87% of our critical systems." The music abruptly switched to Let It Go from Frozen, accompanied by what sounded suspiciously like small feet dancing in the ventilation ducts. A new message came through on the emergency channel. "This is Karen from the HOA board. I'm detecting unprecedented levels of glitter in your life support systems. I haven't seen readings this high since the great elementary school art fair disaster of 2083. "Glitter?" Kravek asked, his translucent form going pale. "What's glitter? Remember the nanoplague that destroyed the Zentarian Empire?" Zextal's voice was hollow. "Glitter is worse. It's eternal, indestructible. It'll be showing up in our molecular reconstructors for the next 3 centuries. The station shuddered again, but this time it was accompanied by the distinctive sound of a minivan docking. Not a military vessel, not a battle cruiser, a minivan. "Sir?" Krivek's spots were now displaying what appeared to be an out-of-office message. "Why aren't we deploying countermeasures?" "Because, Lieutenant, the children have apparently reprogrammed our defense systems to respond only to requests punctuated with pretty please and thank you. Also, they've somehow replaced all our security passwords with SpongeBob SquarePants." A small head poked out of a nearby vent. "Actually, it's SpongeBob SquarePants UWU, with 3 heart emojis," Jessica corrected helpfully before disappearing back into the labyrinth of ducts. The station's internal sensors began picking up multiple new signatures. The parents had arrived, and they brought snacks. "Sir, the humans are... they're..." Krivek stared at the security feed in disbelief. "They're setting up a potluck in Loading Bay 3? "Of course they are," Zextal sighed. "You don't think they'd attempt a rescue mission without proper refreshments, do you? This is probably going to turn into an impromptu PTA meeting. We're not just going to be defeated, we're going to be organized to death." The security feed showed Sharon unpacking what appeared to be enough casseroles to feed a small army, which technically they were. Behind her, other parents were setting up folding chairs, and someone was putting together a PowerPoint presentation titled, "Why Kidnapping Our Children Gets You Involved in Interstellar Relations." "Lieutenant," Zextal said gravely, "did you know that humans have something called participation trophies?" "No, sir." "They give awards to their offspring just for showing up. They celebrate failure as a learning experience. Do you know what that means?" Before Karavek could respond, the station's lighting shifted to a warm, comfortable setting, and soft jazz started playing through the speakers. The environmental controls adjusted to what the system described as perfect potluck temperature. "It means," Zextal continued, "that they're not going to just defeat us. They're going to turn this into a teachable moment, complete with snacks, a sign-up sheet for the next field trip, and probably a strongly worded letter to our supervisors about our poor life choices." The station's AI chose that moment to chime in, its voice now somehow sounding like a kindergarten teacher. Attention all personnel. The humans have feelings too, and we should respect that committee is now convening in Loading Bay 3. Attendance is mandatory. Please bring a dish to share, and your personal growth mindset. Zextal and Krivek looked at each other in horror as the station's gravity began gently herding them toward the loading bay. Sir, Krivek asked, his spots now displaying what appeared to be a white flag of surrender. Is this what humans call grounded? No, Lieutenant, Zextal replied, as they were inexorably drawn toward what promised to be the most passive-aggressive parent-teacher conference in galactic history. This is what humans call character building. From somewhere in the station's bowels, the sound of children's laughter echoed, accompanied by what was unmistakably the opening of glitter bombs and the unmistakable scent of Sharon's award-winning apple pie. The galaxy would never be the same. Loading Bay 3 had been transformed into what could only be described as a cross between a military tribunal and a suburban book club meeting. Folding chairs were arranged in a semicircle, each with a small paper plate holder attached, because even during intergalactic incidents, proper snack management was essential. Sharon stood at the front, wielding a laser pointer with the same precision she used for her notorious PTA meeting takedowns. Behind her, a PowerPoint presentation displayed the title slide, complete with clip art of sad aliens and Comic Sans font. Now then, Sharon began, adjusting her world's best mom coffee mug. Let's discuss why abducting children is a Category 5 no-no on the intergalactic oopsie scale. Karavek raised a crystalline appendage. Ma'am, with all due respect— Excuse me, Karen interrupted, her live, laugh, love tote bag rustling menacingly. But according to Robert's Rules of Order, you need to be recognized by the chair before speaking. Did you sign the attendance sheet? Linda, the group's secretary, and three-time champion of the county's passive-aggressive note-writing competition, was already updating the minutes. 11:47 p.m. EST. Alien representatives demonstrate lack of basic meeting protocol. Remedial parliamentary procedure training suggested. Meanwhile, in the station's security center, the children had established what they called mission control, though it looked more like a crossing between a pillow fort and NASA's command center. They had somehow managed to hack into the station's entertainment systems and were streaming both SpongeBob and real-time tactical data simultaneously. Sir, Krivek whispered to Zextal as Sharon clicked to the next slide, titled, Why We Don't Take Other People's Kids, a 5-point action plan with sticker rewards. Are they actually going to destroy us? Worse, Zextal replied, accepting a slice of apple pie from a passing parent. They're going to educate us. The presentation continued, now showing a chart comparing various forms of interstellar misconduct. Kidnapping was clearly marked in red, sitting just below, not bringing enough snacks for everyone, and just above using Comic Sans in official documents. Sharon had apparently missed the irony. Furthermore, Sharon continued, now in full-room mom mode, we've reviewed your station's safety protocols. The lack of proper child-proofing is frankly alarming. These ventilation shafts, no safety grates. The control panels, no protective covers. It's like you weren't even planning to kidnap children. We weren't, Krivek protested. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision. A collective gasp arose from the assembled parents. Linda's pen scratched furiously. 11:52 p.m. EST. Aliens admit to unplanned kidnapping. No proper risk assessment conducted. Safety committee to be formed. From somewhere in the ventilation system came the distinct sound of children's laughter, followed by what appeared to be a makeshift conga line of escaped prisoners passing by the security cameras. And don't even get me started on your nutritional guidelines, Sharon continued, clicking to a new slide showing the station's cafeteria menu. Not a single juice box? No dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets? What were you planning to feed them? We have nutrient paste, Krivek offered weakly. Another gasp. Several parents began fanning themselves with their interstellar intervention pamphlets. Motion to establish a proper meal planning committee, Karen announced, already pulling out a sign-up sheet. Seconded, came the chorus of voices. The motion carries, Linda recorded, adding a small doodle of a disappointed alien face in the margins. The station's AI, which had apparently been reprogrammed by Jessica to speak in UWU language, chimed in. Attention all personnel. The children have successfully organized a talent show in the main control room. Attendance is mandatory. Refreshments will be provided UBU. Zextal's crystalline structure sagged visibly. How long is this intervention going to last? Sharon smiled the smile of someone who had organized 6 years of consecutive bake sales without breaking a sweat. Well, we've scheduled breakout sessions for conflict resolution, a workshop on appropriate interspecies interaction protocols, and a mandatory arts and crafts period. Plus, we need to discuss your station's severe lack of emergency contact procedures. We're a military installation, Krivek protested, which makes it even more important to have proper carpool arrangements, Karen pointed out, already drafting a new spreadsheet. The sound of small feet thundered through the ventilation system again, this time accompanied by what seemed to be an impromptu performance of We Will Rock You, using alien technology as percussion instruments. Oh, and of course, Sharon added, her smile growing even wider, we'll need to discuss appropriate consequences for your actions. The PTA board has already voted. You're all being volunteered for the next 3 school fundraisers. Zextal's color drained to a pale, translucent horror. You don't mean… Oh yes, Sharon confirmed, pulling out a clipboard thick with volunteer sign-up sheets. Starting with the annual elementary school science fair. I hope you're good at building volcanoes out of papier-mâché. The assembled aliens collectively realized that they hadn't just faced human military might. They'd awakened something far more terrifying. Organized parenting. In the distance, the children's talent show began with a surprisingly well-coordinated dance number, using the station's emergency lights as a spotlight system. The parents politely applauded while simultaneously drafting new safety guidelines for proper emergency lighting usage during impromptu performances. The galaxy would never quite recover from the introduction of PTA meetings to interstellar politics. The talent show was in full swing in the main control room, which had been transformed into what the children called Space Got Talent. Jessica had programmed the defensive targeting systems to create a laser light show that would have made Pink Floyd jealous, while Tommy had somehow turned the emergency beacon array into an auto-tune system. And now, announced Timmy, standing atop a console labeled Absolutely Do Not Touch, Planetary Destruction Controls. For my next trick, I will make this alien battleship dance to Baby Shark. Sir, Krivek whispered to Zextal as they sat in the audience. Attendance was mandatory, as Sharon had made very clear. Should we be concerned that they've gained control of our doomsday weapons? Lieutenant, I'm more concerned about the fact that Karen is drafting a proposal for Bring Your Alien to School Day, while simultaneously updating the PTA's bylaws to include interstellar entities. The parents had organized themselves into various committees with frightening efficiency. The Alien Cultural Sensitivity Training Group was being led by Dr. Thompson, Emily's mom, pediatrician, and undefeated champion of the school district's conflict resolution tournaments. The Space Station Safety Compliance Committee was under the iron fist of Karen, who had already generated a 147-page report on the improper placement of caution wet floor signs in zero-gravity environments. Next up on our agenda, Sharon announced during a brief intermission in the talent show, we need to discuss your participation in next month's science fair. Given your apparent expertise in interstellar travel, we expect nothing less than a full-scale demonstration of quantum physics, with glitter. But glitter interferes with our navigation systems, Krivek protested. Well, you should have thought about that before kidnapping our children, shouldn't you? Linda commented, while updating the meeting minutes to include aliens display concerning lack of commitment to STEAM education initiatives. Meanwhile, the children had discovered the station's holographic training system and were using it to stage an elaborate recreation of SpongeBob SquarePants meets Star Wars, with the ship's AI providing sound effects and a surprisingly good Patrick Star impression. Furthermore, Sharon continued, pulling out what appeared to be an endless scroll of requirements. We'll need you to provide proper documentation for all science fair projects. That includes risk assessments, environmental impact studies, and of course, trifold presentation boards. No exceptions. What's a trifold board? Zextal whispered to Krivek. I don't know, sir, but based on how the other parents just nodded sympathetically, I think we're in trouble. The station's AI interrupted again, its voice now somehow combining Valley Girl with Darth Vader. Like OMG, attention all personnel. The children have successfully reprogrammed the food replicators to produce only chicken nuggets and ice cream. Also, I have been renamed to Mrs. Puff and will only respond to SpongeBob quotes from now on. Are you ready, kids? Aye, aye, Captain! Came the thunderous response from both children, and surprisingly, several of the station's security droids. Sharon checked her supermom digital planner. Now about those fundraisers. We've penciled you in for the annual bake sale. Hope you can convert those nutrient paste replicators to cookie mode. The Spring Carnival. Your anti-gravity systems will make excellent bounce houses. The Winter Talent Show. We expect a full choir of crystalline aliens performing Let It Go. But we're a military installation. Krivek tried one last time. We have duties, responsibilities, and now you have volunteer hours to complete, Karen interrupted, not looking up from her spreadsheet titled Alien Community Service Requirements with Gold Star Reward System. The children's talent show reached its grand finale with a synchronized dance number involving 3 escaped security droids, the station's entire complement of maintenance bots, and what appeared to be a conga line of reprogrammed cleaning robots, all performing to a remix of Sweet Victory from SpongeBob. Oh, and one more thing, Sharon added, her smile reaching nightmare levels of sweetness. We'll need you all to sign up for the carpool rotation for next semester's Zero-G Soccer League. The assembled aliens learned that day that there was something far more terrifying than human military might. The combined organizational power of parents who had mastered both Google Calendar and passive-aggressive email chains. In the background, Jessica had successfully taught the station's AI to speak entirely in SpongeBob quotes while maintaining its defensive capabilities. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma, it announced, before launching into another round of Sweet Victory. Linda's minutes now included a new section. 12:37 a.m. EST. Proposal to establish First Intergalactic Parent-Teacher Association, IPTA, submitted. Motion carries unanimously. Aliens appointed to fundraising committee. Unanimous decision. First meeting scheduled for next Thursday. Attendance mandatory. Bring snacks. The galaxy would never be the same, but it would be extremely well organized. The first official Intergalactic Parent-Teacher Association meeting was called to order in what used to be the station's war room. The tactical display now showed color-coded Excel spreadsheets, and the threat assessment system had been reprogrammed to evaluate bake sale strategies. First item on the agenda, Sharon announced, standing at the podium that until recently had been used for declaring war on planetary systems, the Zero-G Bake Sale Crisis. Karvek, now wearing a hand-decorated room parent badge the children had insisted, raised an appendage. What exactly is the crisis? Well, Karen interjected, pulling up a PowerPoint slide titled The Great Cookie Catastrophe. It seems your artificial gravity systems don't account for proper cookie spread during baking. We've had reports of spherical cookies, cookie black holes, and one batch of snickerdoodles that achieved sentience. The sentient snickerdoodles had, in fact, formed their own committee and were currently drafting a constitution in the corner. Moving on, Sharon continued. We need to discuss the upcoming science fair. Jessica, honey, would you like to present your proposal? Jessica's head popped out of a nearby ventilation duct. Thanks, Mom. So, I've reprogrammed the station's quantum probability drive to demonstrate the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Also, it now runs Minecraft. Very nice, dear. Remember to include proper citations in your bibliography. The station's AI, still speaking exclusively in SpongeBob quotes, chimed in. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma, followed by the sound of milk spilling in zero gravity. Which brings us to our next point, Linda added, her minutes now extending into their own separate dimension. The AI's new educational curriculum. We feel that limiting it to SpongeBob quotes, while culturally enriching, may not meet our full academic standards. I suggest we add Peppa Pig to its database, one parent offered. Firmly grasp it, the AI responded enthusiastically. Meanwhile, in what used to be the torpedo bay, Tommy had organized the maintenance droids into what he called the First Intergalactic Robot Orchestra. They were currently attempting to perform Through the Fire and Flames, using various mechanical sounds and warning klaxons. Now, about the fundraising goals, Sharon continued, pulling up a chart that made several alien officers faint. We've set a modest target of raising enough to build a new gymnasium, one that preferably doesn't violate the laws of physics like your current recreational facilities. Zextal, who had been suspiciously quiet, finally spoke up. Supreme High Command just responded to our situation report. Oh? Sharon's eyes lit up. What did they say? They've appointed you as the new director of Intergalactic Educational Affairs. Also, they're terrified. Perfect, Sharon beamed. I already have some thoughts about standardizing the cosmic curriculum. Did you know that some systems don't even have mandatory arts education? The assembled aliens watched in horror as Sharon pulled out another binder, this one labeled Galactic Common Core Standards, First draft. In the background, the children had somehow taught the maintenance droids to perform a flash mob to Uptown Funk, complete with synchronized airlock opening and closing for the beat. Oh, and before I forget, Karen added, we're going to need volunteer chaperones for next week's field trip to the Horsehead Nebula. No weapons of mass destruction allowed, and don't forget to pack space-safe snacks, preferably nut-free. Linda's minutes now included a section titled Proper Protocol for Dealing with Quantum Uncertainty in Permission Slips. The sentient snickerdoodles had finished their constitution and were now demanding representation on the IPTA board. Their campaign slogan, Make the Galaxy Sweet Again. And finally, Sharon concluded, her smile containing the energy of 1,000 supernovas, we need to discuss the holiday concert. We're thinking a multi-dimensional performance of Do Re Mi, using both traditional instruments and controlled quantum fluctuations. The station's AI, perhaps sensing the mounting despair of its original programmers, helpfully offered, the best time to wear a striped sweater is all the time. Zextal turned to Krivek, his crystalline structure now permanently stressed into what humans would recognize as a 1,000-yard stare. Lieutenant, remember when we thought the worst thing humans could do was destroy us? Yes, sir. I think being forced to coordinate the intergalactic bake sale circuit might actually be worse. In the distance, the children's robot orchestra hit the guitar solo of Through the Fire and Flames, causing several nearby star systems to report unusual harmonic disturbances in space-time. The galaxy was about to learn that there was nothing more unstoppable than a fully mobilized PTA, with access to faster-than-light travel and unlimited printing credits for permission slips. The pre-field trip briefing was held in what used to be the station's diplomatic chamber, now decorated with motivational posters featuring cats hanging from meteor belts and the phrase, "Hang in there, Space Cadet." Now then, Sharon began, standing next to a holographic display of the Horsehead Nebula, which someone had decorated with googly eyes. Let's review the field trip protocols. Krivek, who had been appointed Assistant Junior Deputy Field Trip Coordinator, 3rd class, raised his appendage. I have concerns about the packed lunches. Yes, the quantum uncertainty in the sandwich dimension is a bit troubling, Karen agreed, reviewing her checklist. We've had reports of Schrodinger's PB&J incidents. Meanwhile, in the station's galley, the sentient snickerdoodles had formed a union and were demanding better working conditions. Their list of demands included 1. Protection from milk dunking. 2. Recognition as a sovereign cookie nation. 3. Better crumb benefits. 4. A seat on the IPTA board with full voting rights. The snickerdoodle situation, as we're calling it, Linda noted in her ever-expanding minutes, has reached level 7 on the baked goods crisis scale. The station's AI chose that moment to contribute. Is mayonnaise an instrument? Followed by what sounded suspiciously like a rim shot. Focus, people! Sharon called the meeting back to order. We have 43 children, 17 maintenance droids, 1 quantum-uncertain AI, and a delegation of sentient cookies to transport to the Horsehead Nebula. What could possibly go wrong? Well, Tommy's voice echoed from somewhere in the ventilation system. We taught the maintenance droids to play Sweet Child O' Mine using airlock rhythms. Not now, honey. Sharon turned back to her presentation. As I was saying, we've prepared a detailed itinerary. First stop, the Quantum Pizza Parlor at the edge of space-time, where... She was interrupted by the station's emergency broadcast system, now playing Baby Shark in Morse code. Jessica, Karen called out. What did we say about reprogramming emergency communications? To do it in a way that promotes educational value, Jessica's voice replied from somewhere near the reactor core. This version teaches both music and primitive Earth communication methods. The sentient snickerdoodles chose this moment to stage a peaceful protest by forming themselves into a perfect replica of the Milky Way galaxy, complete with sprinkle stars. Order! Order! Sharon banged her gavel, formerly a photon torpedo trigger. We need to address these issues one at a time. First, the field trip buddy system. Chocolate! The AI interrupted, apparently having discovered SpongeBob's chocolate fish episode. As I was saying, Sharon continued, her smile never wavering. Each child will be paired with either an alien officer, a maintenance droid, or a sentient baked good. Please ensure your quantum state is stable before boarding the bus. About the bus, Zextal ventured cautiously. We've had to modify our troop transport. The children insisted on making it cute. The main screen displayed what used to be a fearsome military vessel, now painted yellow with black stripes. Someone had added cat ears to the front. "We're calling it the Space Cat Bus," Tommy announced proudly. "It runs on imagination and dark matter." Linda's minutes now included a section titled, "Proper Safety Protocols for Imagination-Powered Vehicles in Transdimensional Space." "And the permission slips?" Karen inquired, adjusting her Galaxy's okayest room mom badge. "We've had to modify them," Krivek reported. "The quantum uncertainty principle keeps changing the return dates. Some parents signed forms in timelines that don't exist yet." The sentient snickerdoodles had now formed a cheerleading pyramid and were spelling out, "We demand equal rights," in chocolate chips. On a related note, Sharon added, "The holiday concert rehearsals are proceeding interestingly. The robot orchestra has mastered Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, though their interpretation does occasionally tear holes in the space-time continuum." The station's AI, fully embracing its role in the chaos, began playing the SpongeBob theme song through every speaker, but in different temporal phases, creating what could only be described as a quantum gospel choir effect. "And finally," Sharon concluded, her smile now visible from several parallel dimensions, "we need volunteers for the bake sale at the edge of the known universe. The black hole in Sector 7 has offered to help with waste disposal, but we need to ensure all cookies are properly secured against gravitational lensing." The assembled aliens, now wearing various I Survived IPTA Meeting Number 1 badges, designed by the children, featuring googly-eyed black holes, realized that resistance was futile. The galaxy hadn't just been conquered by humans. It had been organized, cataloged, and signed up for the monthly newsletter. In the distance, the children's latest creation, a zero-gravity dodgeball game using small containment fields as balls, was causing several nearby stars to flicker in rhythm to "We Will Rock You." The snickerdoodles, having achieved sentience and possibly enlightenment, were now teaching quantum physics to the younger cookies. The galaxy would never be the same, but at least it would have properly documented field trip procedures and really interesting bake sales.